afternoon, good evening, wherever you follow us from. It's with me, Ibrahim Asonko. I'm the host of the Dialectic Space podcast. And today, my guest is Mr. Laming Diba, who works with Budget and Microeconomics Transparency, which is a civil society organization in the Gambia. It's also a colleague that I've known from Nusrat High School. We all went to the same school. And there's a story to that. Hopefully, I can tell you guys later. But I'm really happy to have my really wonderful colleague here with me today to talk to me about something that is extremely important to our lives, which is the economy, the government economy. So, Lamin, welcome to the Dialectic Space podcast. How are you doing today?
Thank you, Ibrahim. I'm doing well, thank you very much. I feel welcome already, and it's a pleasure to be here, honestly.
Thank you so much. So we're just gonna get right into it. Wherever you follow us from, like I always say, please go ahead and if you're following us from YouTube or Facebook or Instagram, wherever you are, um, please go ahead to our YouTube and subscribe to support. The goal and vision of the Dialectic Space podcast. Like I always do, I like to bring people here that inspire me with their work, that inspire and challenge me with their ideas of how we could really transform the country that we all deeply care about. So today we're really going to dive into the concept of the economy, the government economy, and also the 2026 draft budget allocations for our country that I believe is being tabled or is due to be tabled before the National Assembly. So we'll start from the foundations, Lamin. Like I always do, I like to ask my guests who they are, what shaped them, where they're from, with in view to sort of understand who really is behind the ideas that a lot of people relate with, or sort of the man that they always see, or the woman that they always see without really understanding who is this person or where they actually come from. So I'll begin this conversation from the top. So tell us who is Lamin, where are you originally from, for example, and what key values sort of shaped you in your early years? And what's your educational journey also like, for example, from high school to university, and who were sort of also the most influential people in your life growing up? If we could begin from there, please.
Thank you for the great questions. My name, as you've already mentioned, is Lamin, and surname Diba. I am originally from Badibu, Salikenye. I was born in Kambo, and then I was taken back to Badibusali, Kenya. That's where I grew up. That's where I did my nursery, primary, and junior secondary school. And then I moved on to do my senior secondary school at Nusrat High School. After which I started at the University of the Gambia. I actually started in the accountancy department. And after a semester, I had a scholarship to go study abroad in Turkey, where I switched from accountancy to economics. So basically, I mean, my educational journey has been one of a beautiful one. I mean, from my perspective, because it has always been something that education per se has been something that I fell in love with since I think grade two. Nursery was not that good actually. When I was going to nursery school, it was a fight. I used to dodge, and my teacher used to come all the way to my home to pick me up from home to take me to school. So it was a tough one during the nursery days. But then I think I started falling in love with education at grade two. Yeah, and also the most influential people uh, in my life, I'll say my mom and my dad. Everything begins with them. They are the two most influential people in my life, and then obviously my teachers as well. I cannot name all of them, but I can remember two who have influenced my educational journey. Specifically, Haruna Fatajo and
Hmm.
Al Hussein Jata. These two have influenced my educational journey. because they were the heads of, I think, press club for Haruna and also peer health for Mr. Jata. They kind of shaped me and shaped my learning skills to say, and I'm grateful to them for that, honestly. So basically, this is more or less the story behind me. If I have left
Yeah.
out anything else, you can ask.
So, and still, I mean, sort of trying to understand who really Lamin is. What do you remember are some of the fondest childhood memories of your life growing up? Is it playing soccer, or is it, like sort of extra math classes or studies, or just what are some of the fondest memories that you had growing up that sort of still lives with you as an adult?
Definitely football. Football it still is actually. Football used to be a great thing for me.
Hmm.
Now I'm quite busy. I'm not able to play every single day, but in those days when I was going to school, junior school, I used to play football almost every single day whenever I had the chance. So it right kind of, you know, was my hobby. It still is my hobby. In fact, it is my hobby in practice, not
Hmm.
in visual, because I don't watch football a lot, but you come to me and tell me, let's go play football, there has to be, if I do not come with you, there must be a quite genuine reason, probably work or
Yeah.
studies. These two would be the only reasons as to why I would not go join you to play football. So football was the joy in my
Hmm.
life, aside from educational activities. Football was, and also speaking of educational activities, peer health, for example.
Yeah.
I remember this moment when we traveled from Salikenye. Then I was, I think, in grade 7 or 8. We traveled from Salikenye to Combo to do a spits. Peer health. It was a play actually about malaria control stuff. So we went to Paradise Suites hotel, and then we performed over there in front of the crowd. Thanks to Mr. Jada for that. That is still one of the most memorable days that I can remember from my early days. Yeah. So football and peer health activities, specifically this skit that we did in Paradise Suites Hotel.
So you've always been like really committed to school, and I've mentioned this in the beginning. Lamin and I, a story that I think I have to share. When I first started Nusrat High School, I started in the commerce class. I believe Lamin and I were in the same class initially. I think the first few weeks until I decided that the balance sheets and the budget matters, or the economy is not really my forte. That I was struggling in the class. I belong elsewhere. And then I made a challenge to the then, I mean, principal of Nusrat High School, Mr. Bojan, to move me to the art classes because of just my ability to connect a lot more with the sort of humanities, like the arts, the histories, the governments. I just felt I naturally belong in that area. But you've always been, to make the point, that you've always been really like committed and really very brilliant in school. At what level do you realize that, or at what level of your life did economics stood out for you, that this is what you want to do? Because also, like in high school, then you don't know what you want to do, you're just trying to figure out a lot of things, right? But at what level did economics really stood out for you, that that's what you want to study?
Actually, it wasn't at high school. You've already mentioned this. This is a common thing for almost all Gambian high school going students. Usually, if they are in a field, they make sure that they perform extremely well in all the subjects, so that when they get to university, making a choice will not be a problem. It's like you make sure you are good at every single subject, and then choosing from them will not be a problem at all. So it was the same for me, because as I've already mentioned, when I went to the University of the Gambia, I did the accountancy program. I started the accountancy program, not economics. But one thing one thing that I was good at was, I was good at economics. I was good at financial accounting that we did. I was good at mathematics. So all the core business related or commerce related subjects, I was good at them. So I could have done any of them. I could have done accountancy, I could have done economics, I could have done business management, or any other field for that matter. And at the university, I started accountancy. And when I got this scholarship, uh, so during the scholarship application, I chose a set of fields: business management, accountancy, economics, and all of them. And then, fortunately for me, I got into an economics program. And that
Okay.
is how I even switched from accountancy to economics when I traveled to Turkey.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's basically it. It wasn't then okay. Now when I got to start my economics program, that was when I really fell in love with economics, especially during the early days. Things like courses like Introduction to Economics, the
Mm-hmm.
way the lecturer or professor will explain economics terms and phenomena, and then connect the theories to the practice. That was amazing for me. That was really amazing for me, because you could see theory in practice. I could relate to economics because it was theoretical, but also it was every theory that is in economics can be applied.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that kind of was amazing to me. That was why I even began falling in love with economics, and it has been that way since then.
So when you completed, you got a scholarship, went to Turkey, did your undergrad. I believe you perhaps also did your graduate studies there as well, and eventually you decide to come back to Gambia. And currently, you work for the Center for Budget and Transparency. In case for those of you who do not know, why did you decide to come back when you had other opportunities, for example, to go elsewhere and work, or even continue to live abroad or study, or to work? Because economics is not just a Gambian subject, it's global. You could literally work anywhere. You could work at national financial institutions like IMF, like World Bank, like some of our Gambian economics did. But you decide to come back home and you work in civil society. You basically work in public now. What really influenced that, and why?
My goal has always been to contribute to my country's national development. Be it soon or later. That has always been my ultimate goal. But when I completed my master's program, I even got an offer to proceed with my PhD program, a scholarship, a merit-based scholarship offer. I turned it down because I felt I had to ground myself in practical economics, applied economics, before I could go on further to begin a PhD program. Because to start a doctorate program, I always believe there is a prerequisite for a doctorate program. That is, embedding yourself into practical applicable before you get into doctoral research or any. Otherwise you'll conduct a kind of research that you are not grounded in, and I did not want that. I did not feel ready to begin a PhD program without having a practical economics experience. So speaking of practical economics experience, I wanted to obtain that in Turkey, but it was not possible because for Turkey to work in the government sector, especially the Ministry of Finance, or their Ministry of Finance, let's say their Ministry of Finance, was practically almost impossible for a foreigner. You could either work in a banking sector, which was still difficult, or work in as an English teacher, work in an informal sector. And I was hell bent on making sure that I got the right economics knowledge, practical applied economics knowledge. And I could not get it in Turkey. So I would have loved to learn about Turkey's economy from the practical standpoint, because I did learn about it from the theoretical standpoint. Would have loved to stay on and learn about the practical aspect of Turkey's economy, but that opportunity wasn't available to me. That was why I had to come back to the Gambia. Because if I came back to the Gambia, at least I would be able to learn about the country's economy. And the goal, by the way, was to learn the Gambia's economy. But again, if you learn about it, understand your own economy much better. That was my ultimate goal of wanting to stay in Turkey to learn about the economy, and then later on, come back to the Gambia and then learn about the Gambia's economy. But it was fast track. I think that it was a blessing in disguise, I could call it. So when I got here, the first thing I did was to make sure I found out a way to get connected to the cream, that is the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs. And thanks to one person, I think I'll name him later as one of my most influential people probably. But that person facilitated my going to the Ministry of Finance to intern there. There, the director of Ministry of Finance, budget director of budget told me, look, there is no pay here. You're gonna learn, but there is no pay here.